Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters. I'm your host Mitch, glad to have you here. Here at the Commander's Quarters, we're all about Commander on a budget. Today's episode is going to be a Commander quick take. On episodes like these, I give you my initial take on a newly spoiled Commander from an upcoming set. I'm going to be talking about a potential direction to take that Commander and possible cards to use for that build. This show and episodes like this one are possible because of viewers like you. So if you're looking for some easy ways to help support the show, make sure you like this episode and share it with friends. And make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Thank you to everyone who's already purchased our merchandise, it really does help support the channel. Another easy way to support this channel is by using our TCG Player affiliate links. So make sure that you're looking for those links in the description whenever you're buying a deck or just individual cards. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support. But before we really jump into this, I just want to give a quick disclaimer. On episodes like these, they are just initial quick takes. This Commander is just as new to me as it is to you. And because of that, I don't have a finalized deck build for this Commander yet. So the direction that I choose to take this Commander today might not be the same one that I do in a deck tech. And because of that, some of the cards I'm going to mention might not be in that deck either. Alright, now that we're on the same page, let's get into it. Today's Commander quick take is on Yarok the Desecrated. Yarok is a 3/5 elemental horror with Death Touch and lifelink, and it costs 2 black, green, blue. It has, if a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So essentially this is a better version of Panharmonicon, but it's in your command zone. The reason that it's better is because it triggers off of anything, any permanent, not just artifacts and creatures. This is probably one of the most open commanders I've seen in a very long time. It's kind of like a reverse Desecrated but in Sultai colors. There are a ton of different directions that you can take this commander, and I'm really excited to see how people build around it. One of my first thoughts about this commander was to build a Landfall deck. Panharmonicon may not trigger off of lands, but Yarok definitely does. And Sultai can be a very good color combination for some very explosive landfall effects. With Yarok in play, essentially every single one of our land ramp creatures is going to double its effectiveness. So when a creature like Wood Elf, Springbloom Druid, or Risen Reef come into play, we're going to get twice as many triggers. That means that Wood Elves essentially is only going to cost us 1 mana, since we're going to get 2 forests into play untapped. And those 2 forests are going to get us 4 landfall triggers. And then Springbloom Druid makes us sacrifice 2 lands, but we get 4 back instead. That's a total of 8 landfall triggers for only 3 mana. And then the newly spoiled Risen Reef can be an absolute bomb in this deck. It says whenever it or another elemental enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield tapped. If you don't put that card onto the battlefield, put it into your hand. So this is effectively a coiling oracle that triggers off of other elementals too. It may cost 1 more mana, but it's well worth it for this effect. If we have something like Zendikar's Royal in play, our opponents are in big trouble. Here's the situation. We play a land, Zendikar's Royal triggers twice. So we have 2 elemental tokens coming into play. Both of those are going to trigger Risen Reef twice. So that's 4 total triggers on Risen Reef. Each land that's in the top 4 cards of our library gets to go directly into play. Every single card that's not a land we get in our hand. A fairly likely scenario with this is that we get an incredible amount of tokens and we draw our entire deck. Now for this and other reasons, we're obviously going to need some ways to prevent ourselves from milling. But this just illustrates how powerful of an effect our commander can have in a landfall strategy. So again, we want to make sure that we have a lot of cards that trigger off of lands in this deck. Tatiova seems like an incredible engine for us with this deck. Every single time a land comes into play, we're going to be drawing 2 cards and gaining 2 life. So in a completely normal scenario, let's say that we play our land for the turn and play something like Wood Elves. We're going to draw a total of 6 cards and gain 6 life. So yeah, having some ways to prevent ourselves from milling ourselves out is probably a good idea. Another card that can come in huge for this deck is Retreat to Coral Helm. Whenever land comes into play, it can let us scry twice to get dead cards off the top of our library. And there are plenty of infinite combos that we can make with that untap effect. You can see one of those infinite combos discussed in our Tatiova build, but it's even more effective with this deck. I'm not going to get into all the specifics because it might take a bit too long. But essentially you're going to generate infinite mana on top of infinite landfall triggers. And since we have all these enter the battlefield triggers at our disposal, we're going to be running blink cards like Ghostly Flicker. The amount of value that we can get out of blinking 2 creatures is absolutely insane in this deck. We of course need some ways to demolish our opponents with those landfall triggers, so we're going to be running things like Retreat to Hagra, Rampaging Balefs, and Royal Elemental. With Retreat to Hagra, essentially anytime we play a land, each opponent is going to lose 2 life and we gain 2 life. This can be really dangerous and take our opponents out very quickly with this deck. And then Rampaging Balefs is going to create 2 4/4 tokens every single time a land comes into play. And Royal Elemental might be the most dangerous out of them all. Anytime a land comes into play under our control, we get to steal 2 creatures. We also want to run some other enter the battlefield effects that really help us out. When Mana War comes into play, it gets to bounce 2 creatures. We can use this to bounce our opponent's creatures back to their hands, or bounce our own creatures back so we can recast them. And one of those targets can even be itself, so we can just keep doing it over and over again. And then Phyrexian Delver can get us back 2 creatures from our graveyard directly onto the battlefield. This is a fantastic way to get some of our ETBs back. And of course, we can use some utility creatures like Acidic Slime. And if we want to, we can really take advantage of its land destruction capabilities if we have ways to blink it. Being able to destroy 2 lands every single time it comes into the battlefield can be absolutely devastating. With any kind of a budget deck though, there are always ways that we can improve on it by upgrading our budget. Some reasonable upgrades to consider for this deck would be Lotus Cobra, Avenger of Zendikar, and Deadeye Navigator. Every single time a land comes into play, we'd get 2 mana from Lotus Cobra. With the right setup, this can easily allow us to storm off with this deck. When Avenger of Zendikar comes into play, it's going to create 2 plant tokens for each land that we control. And after that, whenever a land enters the battlefield under our control, we get 2+1/+1 counters on each plant. With any kind of a blank deck, Deadeye Navigator is going to be amazing, but especially with this one. Being able to get 2 ETBs off of a creature for just 2 mana is absurd. As I mentioned before, there are plenty of different ways that you can build around Yarok. This is one of the most wide open commanders that I've seen in a very long time. I'm definitely excited to see the different directions that people take this commander. But I really want to hear your thoughts on this take, so why don't you let me know in the comments below. Also, if you haven't seen our quick take on Kaalia yet, make sure you check it out here. And make sure that you're following us on social media for more updates and sneak peeks on future episodes. Links to our social media accounts can be found in the description. Also in the description below is a link to the Commander's Quarters Patreon page, and I just want to say a quick thank you to the patrons who have subscribed so far. There are many benefits to being a patron for the Commander's Quarters, including being able to vote on future commanders for deck techs. There's even a general level tier where you get your own personalized deck tech dedicated to you. I truly couldn't do this without all of your support, so from the bottom of my heart, thank you. If you haven't already, make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. And while you're at it, check out some of our other episodes on budget deck techs, Quest for Quarters episodes, Commander topics, and Creators Quarters. And with that, I'm out of here. Thanks again, and have a good one.